is done today. And tomorrow, hey folks, it is April the 21st, and today we're going to begin talking about the physical geography of another part of North America called Canada.
Oh, Canada.
That's right. And so please keep in mind that many of the features of Canada are very highly similar to another part of the United States of America called Alaska. And so we will not have a lecture tomorrow because I'm going to post a new assignment tomorrow. And we're not going to have one on Friday because that's the half-day fun run day, weather permitting. So, and then we'll have a regular week next week, and next week is an A week. So keep that in mind. Your Friday is going to be an A day next week. And all that good stuff. If you have not finished your study island, they are all due today. So I'm going to check that here in a bit after we're done with today's lecture. We're probably going to go through about half of this today and all that good stuff. Here, let me put the date on the board. Bothering me. Yeah, we'll probably just watch history videos on Friday. Because honestly, I didn't know if we were going to be in here or not. But it looks like we will be, at least for normal class time. But since they didn't tell us that until yesterday afternoon, didn't exactly plan for it. Whatever, crap. So here you can see Canada. So keep in mind that though it is a vast country, a great swaths of it are very low population, right? So, and I do ask that you close up the Chromebooks. They're kind of distracting me. I'll let you open them back up when we are done. Welcome. We're just starting. We're just starting. You can keep that sticker for yourself. Keep it for your sticker collection, right? All right. So, yeah, let's go ahead and close up the Chromebook, Jaden. Let's go ahead and
They
close
blocked
that.
me from Study Island.
Well, we can see about that later.
Study Island redirected you too many times.
My goodness. We're going to close it out for now.
Try clearing your cookies.
Yeah, you might just need to restart it. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll down. Canadian facts, eh? So Canada is the second largest country in the world, space-wise, not population. Now, you know, so there's a lot of land. Yeah, absolutely. And it has, in many ways, it's similar to, in that you have vast expanses of Russia where you have pretty low population. Same with Canada. The center is pretty low pop. It is slightly smaller than all of Europe, which is made up of 45 countries. So I could just about fit in there. Canada is 4,800 kilometers from north to south and 5,000 kilometers from east to west. It only borders one country, the United States of America.
Isn't it Russia the biggest country in the world?
Yeah, it says the second largest.
Oh.
What can you do in Canada?
What can you do in Canada? You can drink as much maple syrup as your heart desires.
That sounds
$19
You could wrestle a polar bear one time, just one time.
Yeah.
Just one time. 90% polar bears are interesting because they will hunt people for food. It's like in their instinct. They want to eat you. They want you to be their
I
food.
don't have any.
I want
I
to
don't
be
need fat.
Well, they'll play.
You don't need it.
You don't need anything.
Yeah.
That's like my Christmas.
Polar bears are so huge too. Like if you ever seen like a polar bear up close or even a texted everyone, their paw is like that. So it's like if their paw's that big, you just
Just fight it.
there you go. There's a lesson in futility. All right, so 90% of Canada is too cold for agriculture to take place. And so growing food and crops is a no-no. Very good, sir. You're a good Samaritan. All right. So what's Canada really? Shh. It's a great, big, cold country that's all by itself. These three facts: size, Northern location and isolation influence its physical geographies. And that makes sense, right? It's close to one of the poles. It's quite large, which keeps it away from a lot of the warm ocean currents. And Jaden, sit down. Just sit down. We'll play with money later. All right. And it's isolation finite. So I'm being distracted.
I'm sorry.
I'm tired of it. All right. Physical geography includes landforms, soils, surface water, climate, vegetation. Just like anywhere, right? So landforms and soils. So the physical makeup of Canada is the result of geologic developments. Well, yeah, that goes for everywhere in the world, right? For example, the bringing together of several smaller continents more than 2,000 million years ago accounts for different
2,000
types.
million?
Yeah, that seems like a strange word.
That makes
That's the
sense.
yeah, because that's
2,000
4 digits. 4 digits on top of millions. Okay, well, whatever.
2,000 million?
2,000. Yeah, well, you see the words up there. Account for different types of rocks found in the Canadian Shield. Believe it or not, I got this from a college professor, so I'm kind of like,
I was about to ask if you made this.
no, I didn't make it. A professor made this, a geology professor. And I got to admit, my geology professor in college was super quirky. So if that was like the archetype of like geology professors, this makes sense. For example, the mountain systems are geological developments such as the Rockies, which go up into Canada, right?
All
All right. The landscape of Canada was also affected by glaciation. So remember, we were talking about yesterday that this formed a lot of the United States of America as well. Hey, folks, I'm going to have to ask again, if we can't listen while not talking, and this is coming from multiple angles of the room, I'm going to assume it's all of the room, and instead we will do something else, okay? Do y'all want option B? Do you want it? I don't think you want it. So cut it out. Come on. I know it's past spring break. Everybody checks out past spring break. I get it, but let's get through this. All
I
right.
checked out the second day of school.
Okay. So yeah, remember glaciers, they're giant mountains of ice, and they're slowly moving along and cutting through the soil and rock as they melt and recede. Almost all of Canada was under ice at some time during the past 1.5 million years. Now, only around 1% is under ice. So what we have is the land that was left under it. For example, the bringing together of wait, is this the same thing? Yeah, this is the same slide. I bet. So here we have it. And here you see where in this valley, you see where, well, it kind of does. I think this is actually a lake, like a glacier lake. You can see where the glacier receded and cut through the mountain.
So how is it dry?
On water with great difficulty. Canada consists of 6 major regions that make up its economic practices. So this has to do more with the human geography. You have the Western Cordillera, the Prairie Plains, the Canadian Shield. Remember we talked about plains or flatlands. Shield has to do with glacier cutted rock and mountains. The Arctic North, which is
That's not where people get their food from.
well, I guess you could chisel some out.
To make their ice sculptures.
I think they get the ice from the ice. But St. Lawrence lowlands and the Atlantic region.
I will put it in front of you.
If you have a question, raise your hand, folks. All right, so the Western Cordillera. The Western Cordillera runs along the west coast of North America. The Rocky Mountains are the eastern boundary, but is in the U.S. The Western Cordillera runs into the interior of the continent. This region is made up of new rugged mountains. So we mean like generally speaking, involving the earth. These are relatively new mountains. And newer mountains, too, they tend to be larger because they have less weathering and erosion. As time goes on, mountains shrink, unless they're volcanic and they're replenishing themselves. Major provinces include British Columbia and Yukon Territory. And we saw a map of the provinces when we first started.
Can I still work from the cafeteria?
In a little bit. Western Cordillera. The West Coast has a maritime climate, and this region is a major source of lead, zinc, copper, gold, and therefore the economies in Western Cordillera are based on logging, mining, and tourism. And so, like these are the extraction industries where we were talking about primary economies. Now, most of the people in Canada, of course, live on the East Coast. However, there is a pretty good sizable population here in this part of Canada.
Isn't the East Coast near to like the biggest cities in the U.S.?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, as you see, as you go through California, Washington, and Oregon, there's also quite a few people up here north of that. There's quite a few cities right here. And then all the way up to Canada.
California is a liberal state, but it's a nice country.
Question.
Is that because they have courts there?
I'm gonna have like a quiz on this.
What?
Okay, so your test grades are going to come from the two projects, and your quiz grades are going to come from this.
We're gonna have a quiz on Canada.
Well, it's going to be on some of this. You're also getting some quiz grades from your other work you're doing here too, like the study island and the workbooks. You're actually getting more quiz grades than you are daily grades. And why am I doing that? It's because the daily grades aren't worth much. They're like barely worth anything. And that's not fair. Why would I have you do the most work for the things that are worth the least? That doesn't make sense to me. So, I don't know. Your effort should have more fruits, and your slothfulness should have more repercussions. So, because if you fail in this class, it's not because you're dumb or you don't know anything. It's because you're just not doing it. That's just how it is. All right. Prairie Plains. The word prairie usually refers to a type of grassland, and true prairies occur only in the far southern reaches of Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan, yeah. And so this is also kind of connected in many ways to the United States Great Plains region. And so this is where some tribes that we consider like North American tribes, the Native Americans, were from this area too, such as the Comanche and stuff like that. Before they got horses, after they got horses, they're gonna tear through America all the way down to Texas. But
That's how they made the road.
no, that's no. But it is going to wreak havoc on a lot of other Native American tribes, and of course, eventually, the settlers. The plains also refers to all the farmland that provides. In the provinces of Alberta. What do I say? Saskatchewan. Is that what? Saskatchewan. Gosh. And Manitoba. This prairie definition comes from human use of the land, which is mostly farming. And so this is kind of like the breadbasket of Canada. This is where a lot of their agriculture comes from. There's a lot of dairy farming in this region as well, which is one of their major exports to the United States. Canada also exports a lot of their timber and wood to America as well. So dairy, wood.
Does Saskatchewan
Saskatchewan. Do they make socks? I don't know. I would imagine, but maybe not.
Because like that,
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, some words don't need to exist. I'm sure that this was probably an Inuit word. I can almost guarantee. It is so Saskatchewan. That is so like not a standard anglicized. Or you can't say that's a French word.
Have you ever been chased by a cow, Mr. Whiteman?
Yes, when I was a kid, I've been chased by
That is a
cows.
very fun experience.
Being horse bit isn't very funny.
It's very fun.
So. The prairies may also include the entire area of all three of those provinces, a region known as the Prairie Provinces. Prairie Provinces are included among the provinces of Western Canada, and historically this region was called the Canadian Northwest, or simply the West. And so, yeah, this is a very expansive, low population area where people do live. It's around the agricultural industries, especially towards the southern part. But again, these people had to be very well prepared because the winters are very harsh and windy. All right, prairie economies. Primary industries include agriculture, wheat, barley, canola, oats, and cattle and sheep ranching. Also, natural resources such as tar sands. And tar sands are where they get a lot of their oil from. It takes quite a bit of filtration to get the soil out of it, but it's a pretty good source of petroleum for Canadians. And that too is one of their exports as well. Like they export some of their oil to America to be processed. Secondary industries consist of refinement of oils and agricultural processing. So you see, their industries where they manufacture things have to do with the natural resources that they gain from their own country. It makes sense, right? I mean, if it's there, why not specialize in its refinement and production? You can go ahead and close that up, Jade. Thanks.
Citizens on Justin.
You can go ahead and close it.
Oh,
We're not doing
I'm
math
left
right
me
now
on
either.
red.
I'm sorry. I don't believe in math. It's against my beliefs. All
I
right.
thought you left me on red.
If I say that, do I not have to take a class?
No.
That
Then
would be pretty cool then.
I'm sorry. We don't accept heresy. Not even my heresy.
Then he can do math on his
The
computer. Come on,
forensics.
open it up.
They kind of get us a science credit.
All right, so recent growth of the prairies. Some of the prairie region of Canada has seen rapid growth from a boom in oil production since the mid-20th century. Alberta has seen a record increase in population, second only to Ontario and Manitoba, has experienced record immigration levels. And I've heard stories that it's a lot kind of like, like Midland and a lot of West Texas we have here, to where they go through big oil booms when the market's looking good for the oil economy. And so these towns grow, and a lot of young men who are willing to put in hard work can make a lot of money. But then whenever oil prices plummet, the jobs go away, and all of a sudden the towns kind of dwindle and their cash dries up, and a lot of people end up unemployed. So it has a lot of the boom bust economy in these regions, just like we have here in the oil parts of Texas, right? So I'm sure a lot of y'all know somebody or some family or somebody like that around here who works in the oil fields or in the oil industry. So it's a really big thing as far as it goes here and there. Number 3, the Canadian Shield. Largest region that includes most of Quebec, Ontario, northern Manitoba, and northern
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Gosh, I can't say that. None of it, and half of the NWT. A varied landscape with lots of bog,
Northwest
muskeg, drumlins, eskers, and lake basins. Wait a second. What is a muskeg, drumlins, and eskers?
Oh,
I don't know what a muskeg is.
drumlins.
Yeah, what on earth is that? That
Yeah,
sounds
search it
almost
up.
like those sound like Hobbit words. Like I could
It's gonna be a movie.
muskeg, drumlins. I mean, they're obviously physical features.
Muskeg is a Northern American swamp or bog consisting of a mixture of water and partly dead vegetation,
Ah, yeah.
frequently covered by a layer of sphagnum or other mosses.
Muskeg
A drumlin is a hill that is
soil
shaped-
type.
Okay, that has the shape of an inverted spoon or a half buried egg.
Huh.
That
Okay.
doesn't make
Muskeg
sense.
is just
It's just a hill.
Drumlins are elongated,
Okay.
teardrop-shaped hills of rock, sand, and gravel that form under moving glacier ice.
Oh.
They can be up to 2 kilometers long.
Okay, so it's kind of like if you take like a shovel and you scrape the ground, it makes like this. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
ridge. What about eskers?
They are ridges made of sands and gravels.
Okay. Oh, I see a picture there. Okay, so if you remember, I told you the northern central part of Canada has a lot of very vibrant forest. But remember, I told you it's kind of like a swamp region, kind of like at the bottom, right? And it would freeze over. I remember being when I was younger, that was one difference I noticed in colder climate forests than here, like in Germany. It's just like sometimes the moss is so thick at the bottom of these forests, they go up to your knees. You'll like step in the moss, and the moss is like so thick, and it's like wet and cold. It goes all the way up to your knees and stuff. It's like very weird. It's very different than we have here. Like moss here is like very short, very, very short. You might find them along creeks and stuff like that, and parts of forests, but not like in colder regions where it gets really long. So I guess muskegs have that, like that really long, thick moss at the bottom of the forest. But that's very difficult to make into agricultural land and stuff like that. It's difficult to build on because, well, the soil type underneath it's like slushy, nasty, goopy stuff. You can eat some mosses. You can eat some lichens. They don't taste good, but I mean you can eat it. It's like starvation food. Has very rich mining opportunities, including nickel, uranium, gold, silver, and copper. So once again, we're going back to primary extraction industries. Mostly covered by boreal forest. Remember I told you this before. These are evergreens, conifers, but can also have areas of dense soil where many marshes and bogs are found. So this is probably going to be the last region we'll talk about today, the Arctic North. The North region is located above the lie of continuous permafrost bordering the Arctic Ocean and the Hudson Bay. Remember, the Hudson Bay is that very large bay in the middle of Canada that almost looks like a supergiant lake. Permafrost is soil that remains frozen for more than 2 years, my bad. I didn't get enough sleep last night. That would be a lot of years. That'd be like half my life. It includes a major part of NWT and small parts of the Yukon, Manitoba. Not yet, but I might get there. Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. If I'm 80, I am the most physically awesome 80-year-old in the world right now. But I'm not there yet.
Right?
How old are
Yeah,
you?
I'm half of 80.
Oh, that's pretty. You look.
Well,
younger
the
than
permafrost is finally thawing up.
You look like you're in your 30s.
Oh,
You
gosh,
look
I feel like I'm
30s.
80. I didn't get any sleep. Nah.
You look late 30s.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
The Arctic North, it's cold.
and data.
There's layers of ground that do not thaw out very often. And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult to live there is because you can't do agriculture in such a region. You just really, really can't. I mean, like you could under certain like greenhouse conditions, but you can't really use the earth that much. Eat the moss and just be happy.
Don't worry.
Arctic population in cities. Over 20 Aboriginal bands live in the region, as well as over 30,000 Inuits. So these are essentially the native Canadians, and they call them First Canadians there. They don't call them like Native Canadians. So they say like, these are First Canadians.
Would it be longer to go from Canada to like Europe or from America to?
It depends what part of Canada, what part of America.
Baker's Lake. And it's wrong.
Let's say you're in New York and America and whatever one of those places is.
No. New York's like.
New York.
Well, I'm trying to think like I don't know where their airports are though. I mean, like it might be slightly shorter, but we're talking about slight.
My grandpa's from New York.
Because the longitudes can be about the same because the eastern border of Canada only sticks out a little bit past the eastern border of
There's an airway up there near Greenland, which has like a lot of planes go because it's like naturally moving airplanes.
That's neat.
So the Canadians probably would exploit that instead of trying to fly over the Arctic.
Yeah, flying over the Arctic. I do, like I said, like whenever you look at airplane flight maps, you don't notice. You notice they seem to go like east and west in that hemisphere when they're going either to Asia or if they're going to Europe. It might have something to do with that. I mean, obviously there are flights that go to the south and so forth, but usually they kind of pass through Houston. So they go like towards Georgia, Houston, and then they'll go south into South America. So but north, I don't think I've ever seen that. It's, of course it's possible. I mean, it happened during the Cold War all the time when we were spying on each other. Earliest Europeans came around the 1500s during the Age of Exploration. And so, of course, that's something that's definitely going to come up next year, because the end of 10th grade, we tend to talk about the Age of Exploration before we go on to the fall of absolute monarchies and the Age of
And I just
Revolution.
took world history since I took geography.
No. The search for the Northwest Passage again brought more European attention to the region in the mid-1800s. Was it high school credit?
Oh, it's high school credit.
You said you took a class. If you took a high school credit class, then you can skip a high school class.
Just take all the classes during the summer and do nothing during school.
Sorry, Charlie.
Surprisingly, you have to get the limit.
Yeah, it didn't work that way unless you're like homeschooling or something. You
Yeah,
know.
I've done that at two.
Oh, see, you can do that as long as you're
Schooling is terrible.
good on it and you get your credits. Then
It's
you
not
can do
even food.
It's better than waking up every single day at 6:40 versus 30.
not a morning bird. Not a morning bird. All right. The Arctic economy then and now.
6:45.
So during discoveries in the Yukon in the 1890s and mining finds in 1930s brought on more significant settlements. So the 1890s, they're talking about the Yukon gold rush. And so you might remember America's had its fair share of that even before that, such as 1849 when you had the 49ers rushed to California to go get as much gold as they could get in their hands. Later, you'll have one in Alaska. And whenever you have these gold rush, it makes the populations boom because people want to get rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That flood the market with gold and make it not as valuable.
Now, yes, but not nearly as much as when Spain conquered the Aztecs, because Spain actually flooded so much gold into their country that and silver as well, yeah, especially from like the Andes and stuff. They had such super hyperinflation, they ruined their economies, especially the people who were like the peasant class and stuff who didn't have it. That means their worth like plummeted. It absolutely plummeted. And so other countries that were industrialized, like England, was just reaping in all of the gold coinage they could ask for and growing their economies at the same time. And Spain tried to build its own industrialized economy and had a very closed trade network with their colonies. But it didn't work out. They weren't able to incentivize their workers well enough. And so their products were so poor quality. Their colonies like Mexico and stuff like that would ignore Spanish-made goods and illegally smuggle in British-made goods, which only further hampered the Spanish economy.
Sounds nice.
It was nice for the countries that did so, but yeah, I mean, gold and silver lost its value in Spain, but as it dispersed to the rest of Europe, they say that's what helped grow capitalism, because in the Middle Ages, gold and silver was so rare, there was a short supply of coined money. But after the New World, and they got all these shiploads of gold and silver, now Europe had enough coinage to make trade more standard from country to country and stuff. So it really boosted economies. I got a book around here somewhere. It's actually by two historical economists, and that's what they talk about is how Spain basically destroyed its economy because it brought in way too much gold too fast and silver.
What book are you missing that you really want? Because I feel like you have every book over everything.
Well, actually nowadays most of my books are ebooks, and so I wish they weren't. I'd rather have real books. I'm looking at a box set right now on English history. I never really cared about English history, but I kind of feel like I might as well go back and read some more on it. So I'm looking to get a box series on it, but I don't feel like throwing down $66 on books right now. I think about it.
Isn't Spain still trying to recover from that?
Well, no. That's so far removed from back then. Yeah, this is that's so far removed.
No, they're just struggling because they have a bad government.
Yeah, Spain has a lot of different kind of internal problems right now. But yeah, I wouldn't say that any country is still reeling from their economic choices from the 1600s.
The
All right.
United States overrun the France of the Revolutionary War.
That's the thing. I'm not sure if we ever had that. But the thing is, once they've changed hands to so many governments, as a county war. I mean, that's what Cinco de Mayo is about. The French were trying to demand that Mexico pay back its debts to them. And so, but that was a different, Mexico claimed that it was under a different French government that they took those loans from. France disagreed. So it's like, is it to the king or is it to the country? Well, there's no king anymore. And France used to rule under the especially under the divine right rule that the king was the country and everybody else was subject to the king. So it's kind of like, who do you really owe the money to? There's no more king. So I don't know. Let's finish this up. I'm going over. So in recent years, oil and gas exploration of the Beaufort Sea and the Arctic Ocean have brought more people, trapping and fishing. Mineral resources, gas and oil deposits have been found. And so, yeah, like natural gas is definitely a booming thing as well. Metallic minerals have also been found, including zinc, iron, ore, lead, and most recently, diamonds. So,
Oh man.
That's nice.
oh yeah.
I'm a test play.
Yes. They are just finding so many diamonds. They're making blocks of diamonds. There you go. All right. So that's going to cut it for today, folks. We'll see you later. All right. Yeah. So